winning ride on the Tour de France. Bet your boots on it as Cadel Evans of Australia makes history today.
Guys, welcome to the Detour Live. We've had a first, folks. We've done 10 minutes of the show and I hadn't pressed go live button. So we were all this gold, John. And then I was thinking, hang on, what's going on here? Why isn't the ticker up in the corner? We've had no comments. That's why, because we weren't live. So that was a brilliant warm-up, though. That was the first
it was
time
great.
Pre-Detour production meeting, just to make sure we were going to get a cherry right.
If we're talking about horrible, Dan, but if we're going to talk about horrible starts, some years ago I did a whole voiceover on Paris-Roubaix, direct from London. Yeah. And when I said, well, that's it, boys, first take. And there was a long silence in the studio in my earphones. I said, don't tell me you didn't press go, did you? And the sound producer said, I'm sorry, mate, I didn't.
Oh,
the whole thing again. So this is only 10 minutes. Why should we be worried?
Yeah. Well, it is a first, but I think I'm getting a bit of your dementia, Iffy. Where it just...
I knew I'd be blamed in some way, but that's fine.
So for the second time,
number one rule in television: don't tell people at home what they don't know.
Exactly, quite right, Scotty. Quite right. You did learn something at the Olympics.
But the problem is, we're so honest. We're so honest on this show. You know, we're very transparent. So for the second time tonight, I'm joined by National Road Champion from Australia, John Trevorrow, Olympic gold medalist and commentator Scott McGrory, and the voice of cycling, Phil Liggett. Now, we're going to be deep dive, having a look at the 2022 Tour de France race route. John has done a lot of preparation for this. You've gone through, you've done all the research, you've spent 4 hours, Iffy, to go through and get your map ready to go. Obviously, if you listen to the show, the map's useless. But all you had to do was go on Cycling Tips, and they had a link to velowire.com, Iffy, and they've already got the map laid out for you.
It's not as good as my map for a start, and I think they heard the whisper of my proposed route. But I always delve into all the different rumours and go with what I think is the best and devise my own route. And then I've normally, when I've gone on the tour, then book my hotels by that. I've been wrong a few times, but I reckon I'm spot on this time. Anyway,
you've never had any issues on your detours, Iffy? What are you talking about?
Not in the last couple of years. Not in the last couple of years. It was good, but anyway, we don't go down the bad ones. But anyway, continue.
Now, Phil, you must get excited every year. I think next year, I've done the research, is going to be your 50th Tour de France, mate.
Yes, it is. I just hope the organisers count the last two, because I've done them, but not from France, of course. So they might say it's my 48th. However, it is my 50th. I started in 71. And I've never been to Denmark. So there's two good reasons. And the way NBC are talking just now, I think we will actually be back in France and Denmark for the Tour instead of in London, where I have been for the last 2 years. And I've never been to Denmark, so I want to go. The route says we're going to have 3 days in Denmark, starting with a time trial. And then we'll probably fly, but it's fairly long. Well, we'll drive, but the riders will fly down into France. And because of it, we're starting on a Friday rather than Saturday to allow for a third day off in the race to bridge the big gap, which was a system they were thinking about many, many years ago when they were going to utilize Concorde and start the race in Washington, D.C. and fly it back from America. And the problem it didn't materialize was the jet lag situation. But they were very ambitious in the 80s to try and get the most out of the situation. I think Denmark will do a fantastic job. And as I say, it's been postponed because of the European Championships. And Brest has stepped in last year, or this year rather, to put it back on the map in France. And we're back to Denmark now this time around. So it'll be, as always, yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing it. And as a pro bike rider, I will always tell you, everybody in the street, if you tell anybody you're a professional, their first words they say is, have you ever ridden the Tour de France? And if you say no, well, they don't see you as a professional cyclist. So it's a big target for all bike riders as well.
Geez, I remember one year when we went to Tour, Scotty, and once they got word that you'd won a gold medal, it was unbelievable. We got free beers, free sausages off the barbie. You almost got the keys to the city. It was huge.
Yeah, true, but Phil is right. And personally, I feel like there's something missing because I didn't ride something like the Tour de France. So, yeah, me as an athlete, as a professional cyclist, absolutely. I feel that I wish I had ridden that. Can I just point out, Phil, I find it fascinating that, this is going to be your 50th Tour de France, which by calculations means that, it's even more incredible that your first tour, the fact that you worked on the Tour de France at the age of 15 for the first time.
Well, I'm getting to like you more and more, Scotty. Yes, in fact, I was 71 when I started. I saw my first tour when I was just over 15 in 1965. I stumbled the very first time I've ever been to Europe in my life and left British shores. And I went by train with the bike to Belgium. I got off the train in Namur from the UK. Nearly got killed when I stepped out because I didn't know they drove on the other side of the road and I looked the wrong way like I was in Britain, and they nearly got wiped out from the right. Then I got stuck into the ride and I finished up in Luxembourg, which is a fair way. It was a lovely ride down the Rhine and the Moselle valleys. And the Tour de France, it was a feeding station in the center of the city of Luxembourg. I didn't even know the route. And there it was. And the guy called Van der Kerkhoff was in the yellow jersey. He held it for 2 days and lost it, and that was it for him. Only time I ever mentioned his name was when I was watching the tour. And I couldn't believe this was the Tour de France. And there was the Maillot Jaune. And all those years ago, yeah.
We've got a couple of live comments. Samantha says, that's better. Sorry about the false start. Will Wizard. What are you doing? The Tour de France 22 parcours presentation is live now on TV. That's why we're doing it, mate. We're going to work alongside. So you're going to have 2 screens going.
We'll see who's right. See whether I'm right or they're right. I think they might be right. Yeah. But I got to say, the first Tour de France that I ever saw was 1973, and we rode the amateur. Had an amateur criterium in Den Haag in Holland, and the prologue start was there, and my mate Donnie Allen won that prologue, which got him a pro contract the next year, and he rode the Tour de France the very next year. And then I covered my first one as a journo in 1991 with the late and great Simon Townley, and we had an absolute ball. But, I've got some news.
What news, John? I don't know what you're about to say. You haven't done this before.
We're back. So I had planned a new group travel tour, platinum tours, we're going to call it, to go on the Tour de France. We had it all set up a couple of years ago, and then suddenly this bloody pandemic hit. So it all got put on the back burner, but we're back. So we've decided we are back. Giro is a maybe, but the Tour de France is a definite. And Dan Jones is going to be my wingman. So we'll be doing the detour live from the Tour de France, and we're going to take just a small group of friends, detour fans, along. It's going to be sensational. So more details will be popping up over the next few weeks, but I'm looking forward. It's going to be, I've missed the last 2. I'm not missing another one.
Are you going to vet these tours, John? Is there like a criteria you have to meet, or is it just come one, come all? Because we've had some experiences in the past. Scooter, there was one year where we were like, mate, did you go to the local nut house and just say,
we're trying to get fans along. We don't need you telling your stories right now, okay?
Well, as I said, I'm just honest. I can't help it. No, anyone that follows the detour is a friend and family of ours. And if you've got the cash, even better. Wendy Superfan, she says, our SBS production won't be the same without Mike Tomalaris. I read an article today from Ride Magazine saying that Tomo is no longer with SBS. He's obviously covered the tour since its beginning with SBS over the years. I think it was back to 1991. He's definitely going to be missed. He's done a lot for Australian cycling, particularly the tour.
Yes, well, it's a strange story. Mike Tomalaris has been the heart and soul of SBS and their connection with Tour de France. I did my first tour in 91. I think he did his first tour in about 96. and we've done it, I think, the same amount to us. So we've had a lot of fun and a few clashes on the way. But the beautiful relationship with ASO, the organising body of the Tour de France, and SPS has been very much formed and improved by Mike Tomalaris. So he's been fantastic for cycling in Australia. So I don't know the story. I just hear that he's leaving. I don't know what he's going to be doing after, but it's a real big loss for cycling in Australia for Mike Tomalaris to step back. So we'll find out more. That's all I know. But yeah. With that.
Well, talking about the first tours, we've mentioned this story on the show before, but 2005, when we're doing video footage for them, and it was clear I didn't know what I was doing, and that was when Tomo famously said to me, mate, this is the worst vision I've ever seen. I don't want to see wide shots of if his guts in there with cables and all this stuff. Have you ever worked in TV before? I said, no, mate. I've only done wedding videos, and even they were shit. So that was when he just hands on his head. But we got better. We got better and we got there then, but yeah. Jan Boardman says, I've done the same as John, taken the rumours and booked all my places to stay already. And I'm also often wrong. Free cancellation is essential. It does book up pretty quick, you'd think, and that's why they hold off announcing the route, but they've obviously booked up all the hotels for the teams and so forth.
Now, a big shout out to Jan, who's a lovely English lady who we met a couple of years ago and joined us for a bit of the tour. She's an auntie, some relation to Chris Boardman, but she's a bike fanatic, and I know that she had some challenges with the whole pandemic for a little while, but she's back. So we text each other regularly. So, Jan, we'll be there, and we look forward to joining you for a couple of days on the Tour de France next year.
And Janice says, hi all. Kirsty Baxter, I'm in iffy. She's keen to come over. Free Ranger says, hi all. Big thanks to John for his messages of support following my recent heart attacks and triple bypass surgery. Ooh. Thanks, iffy. So, yeah, good on you, Free Ranger. I hope you're recovering, mate. John Ma says, Phil, what's the furthest you have travelled to see a bike race? New Zealand Cycle Classic in New Zealand? Question mark.
Well, yeah, it's cycle racing in New Zealand. I think it would be the Commonwealth Games in Auckland. It's probably the furthest I've travelled. Although I've been to Rio as well. I don't know how that locates in mine.
No, I think Tassie's even further, mate.
And I prefer the little island of the big island, I must say. It's a wonderful place to be. It just reminds me of Wales. Yeah. But if there's a bike race, as Trish always says, we only go on holiday where there's a bike race. And I guess that's a good point.
Yeah. But Phil, the Rio trip was like in terms of distance, it might be not that long, but I remember for me getting there to commentate with you, it was such an arduous trip to get there. We had long stopovers in Auckland and then also in Santiago in Chile before going to through to Rio, and it was such a long drawn out trip.
Did you go by car?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, I'd have stopped off in a few more towns, I think.
Yeah. Now, before we go into the race route, because you've got phones, you've got apps, you've got all the technology ready to go, and you've got your map behind you, let's tick off a couple of the low-hanging fruit. Now, big news was obviously the Spectator from the Tour scooter being sued for a huge amount of coin.
Huge amount of coin, $1, wasn't it, or €1?
Yeah, €1.
Yeah,
just 1,000 Aussie dollars.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it was a terrible situation from the athlete's perspective to have that crash happen, and it's how do you make that fan accountable when the fan wasn't there to try and cause that crash? They were having fun, they were part of the event, enjoying it. They did something really stupid, so it was a way of I guess symbolically making them accountable that action has been taken, but doing it in a way that wasn't going to penalise someone that really is just a sports fan. But it does send a clear message that, okay, that's the lesson learnt. Next time it will be far more serious, and let's just stop being stupid at bike races, because, cycling is such a unique sport that you don't get as close to the Formula One drivers, before or after the race, obviously not during, as you do with athletes. Same with tennis, same with all the other major sports. Cycling, you can stand right there as close as she did and cause major carnage. I think it's actually quite surprising that we haven't seen more incidences like this and more crashes caused by fans. I think we've been quite fortunate in that regard because it's uncontrollable. A 200+ kilometre stage out on open roads, it's incredibly uncontrollable to try and have the fans away from, the playing surface as it is. So symbolic gesture, but I think it's probably the right thing to do because send a clear message to everybody else out there. Look, be safe. Don't be stupid.
And she will have a criminal record because it was a criminal offence. The police created a criminal action. So she'll have a criminal record anyway. But I agree with everything you say there, Scott. That's absolutely right. And before everybody says, why don't we barrier the crowds back? I'm afraid what would represent 400 kilometres of barriering on that particular stage is totally impossible to do.
No. Look, it's what cycling is. I disagree slightly in that I've seen a lot worse acts. Those clowns that run up on the hills and actually, are touching the bike riders, they're causing more problems, I believe, more danger. Hers was a stupid act of someone sending a message to their grandparents in Germany. The sign with the fraction line was a bit of cardboard. She wasn't to know, and actually, that caused the crash in one way, but Martin, overreacted to it slightly. Whatever. I don't believe they should have taken her to court. I think she'd already been ostracised by everyone. Job was done. They didn't need to go any further with that. Anyway, that's my opinion.
I disagree. Lock her up.
Lock her up. Lock her up.
Burn the sign. Other breaking news. Premier Tech, deal or no deal? It's a no deal from Bike Exchange, Iffy. You did call it.
Yes, well, I knew.
Where do you get your information about Bike Exchange? It's extraordinary the insight that you have, John.
Team mascot, mate. Team mascot. So, I get all the info. Look, there was an interesting deal. There was some money there for to help the low. Because Jerry, what he's done with that team over a long period of time has been absolutely amazing. And he needs another big company to come in. And so here was someone, they were with Astana, not happy there. So there was a deal put. So it started to be brokered, but when it all boiled down to it, it just wasn't the right deal. So end of story. It wasn't exactly the right deal. So it hasn't happened.
You think it's pretty black and white, though? Like when a team needs to cover a budget, and Bike Exchange don't have the biggest, it's not the worst. But if you're wanting to come in, and I saw a lot of the comments on the Cycling News article, people saying, how can you expect to go, I want 50% ownership of the team and I'll offer you a quarter? Sweet. Like, who's going to want to do that?
It wasn't the right deal. Exactly. So it's not happening. So I noticed now that part of that deal they were talking about, Furs Lang and what's his name, the Canadian young guy, who good bike rider, who were going to come over to Bike Exchange. They're now going to Israel.
Yeah.
I don't know that the actual sponsorship with Premier Tech is going to go all the way to Israel because that's not what he wants is to get part ownership of a team. But at least that part's happening for them. I wonder if it could be the saviour for Quebecer. I don't know. There was I saw a rumour file somewhere that they were talking, and that would be a nice scenario if it saves a team, a great team from going under. Because Doug Ryder's done an amazing job with that team. It almost fell over a couple of years ago. It was saved by the Bitcoin mob, whatever they are. But
that's as good as money, sir.
Yeah, well, it turns out it wasn't. So,
not in China.
No.
Anyway.
So anyway,
but John, it's you're dealing with egos, aren't you? Like how many? You think about all of the people that own, or general managers or whatever, founders of all of the World Tour teams. They will all want to continue, but none of them, or very few of them, would want to actually give up any ownership of the team. They want sponsors because obviously the challenge you have as the pro team, you bring on a sponsor, and if they then have some ownership of that, then they have some direction in where the team goes. What riders come to the team, very, very few, if any, of the team owners would want to give up that level of responsibility. They want to have control of their team. Sponsors typically have always been, give us your money, yep, we'll respect that, but don't tell us how to run the team. So it's
I can tell you right now that the ego situation wasn't the issue with Jerry. He was quite prepared to give up a part of that team, and as long as everything was to the betterment of the team, so if that was all better for the future of that team, whether he was the 100% owner, 50%, he was fine with it. It just, in the end, the deal wasn't for the betterment of the team as far as from Jerry's perspective. End of story.
A couple more comments. Tom Maloney says she has suffered enough. I agree, Iffy. That's obviously what we're talking about before. Samantha goes, does that mean Bianchi stays, John? Soccer News is saying Giant on board, yeah?
Yeah, no, Giant evidently has that deal is very close to being cemented. I hear, yes.
And Simon Heavy says, love to go on the detour with the lads. Will the hotel bookings be confirmed, Iffy? Why would there be a problem with the hotel bookings?
because you pair of bastards talk about 20 years ago how bad it was, or 10, whatever, and forget about all the great times. But anyway, they'll be confirmed.
No, I will give you credit. You never had 3 bad days in a row. You do 2, and then we'd stay in a chateau.
I never had 2. I only have a bad day and a good day. Bad day and a good day. Okay. But that was in the old days before, when I let others get involved in the bookings. Okay. Since I've taken it back over, it's
first class,
absolutely sensational.
Okay, yes. Well, Simon's going to be there working for Bikestyle Tours. He said he'll see us there for a bit. And Skull, he said LMAO, which means laughing my ass off. And Tom
well,
said,
he's been on the Tour de France with the Skull. Yeah.
Well, Skull's a top fan of the detour. Of course he is. Tom's called that out. So. Okay, and we want to do a quick shout out because we've forgotten the last couple of times to Peter Emelin from the Gruppetto. We were meant to do this 3 weeks ago, John.
Now you tell me. Give me 2 seconds. We're going to find my little spiel here somewhere.
Well, he'd been pushing for everyone to get on the gravel rides, and he unfortunately came off at about 35k an hour.
Oh, you got the photo there.
Well, he's in the Boxhill Hospital.
Yes, their mate of mine is involved in their Melbourne group. I can't find the bloody yarn now, but anyway, it's in there. But yes, so Peter was the one who said, we'll just get into gravel riding. So he got them all finally keen, and then that's his first go and last go, I think, of gravel riding because broken ribs, broken leg. But Pete, we wish you all the best. And I wish I had my spiel here, but anyway, it's in there somewhere.
Was that both? Like, you can see the left leg was broken, but the right one is a problem as well? Has he done both feet, both ankles?
I don't know, or the long socks.
Yeah, matching socks.
No, that's progression socks on the right.
One ankle, one leg, and a couple of ribs, I think. But hey, is that a smile on Pete's face? I think it is. So there you go. You handled it well.
All right, now let's get stuck into the course. Have you got any updates? Have we got any confirmation? Because we know that it, as Phil said, it's going to start in Denmark. And if you look at
show the first 3 stages.
The first 3 stages. So this is a rough rundown, and then you've got the opening time trial, which is 13 Ks around Copenhagen, and I think I had the profile.
My first international bike race in Copenhagen. I'm probably on that circuit, I reckon. Criterium, pretty close.
Yep.
Back about 30, 40, 50 years ago. Yeah.
Stage 2 is just under 200k. Looks pretty pancake flat. And then you've got stage 3 that's similar. A couple more little pimple type climbs, but I've been off before with my climb gradients. But they're the opening 3 stages. And then obviously the rumour mill iffy. They're going to be going up Alpe D'Huez. And I thought, why not fire up further on in the stages, but why not get into the atmosphere back to?
I thought we'd do that when we got to Alpe D'Huez. That's fine.
I want to get people excited. We've got this amazing clip that I was halfway through and realised we weren't recording. And I was like, okay, let's pull the pin. But we'll fire up the detour.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
As we said, to get you excited for the announcement of the race route. Alpe D'Huez 2015, stage 20. This is when we went up on the climb and wound up the crowd for backstage pass.
Think I better dance now. You don't have to be beautiful to turn me on.
There you go, mate.
Hey. All right, baby, yeah.
Oh, I love that, mate.
That's what you made.
How good are the Hawks going? All right, so we're on the first corner here. The Welsh corner seems a bit light compared to the Dutch corner, boys.
Yeah, but that flag there belongs to me.
Oh, does it?
I bought that from Poland.
Yeah, right. I'm well confused.
It's cheaper there too.
How many Welsh are you?
6 of us in the van over there. We've been here since Tuesday.
Yeah. Big day.
Bought 1,000 cans of beer with us.
And how many you got left?
200.
All right.
Yes, very good. Going home tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Ah, good to see you again.
It was good to see you.
No words to be spoken.
God bless you, my child. This is the best corner because it's from Ireland. God bless you.
Oh, yeah, the New Zealand corner.
Hey guys, love the backstage pass.
If you wanna impress me, you can't be
Alright, so we're down here at the most famous corner in the world of cycling, the Dutch corner on Alpe D'Huez. I was pretty scared driving my car through there, so I parked it 1k up the road and come back down to do this interview. But I don't think I want to get too involved in what's going on there.
think I better dance now.
Jonesy, mate, there's some local produce for you. Dean, there's a note. There's a note on the back for you as well, yeah?
Yeah, it's great, mate.
All good? Who the f*** are you?
Wow, that gets you.
Oh boy, I'm in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well,
Hey, you would
exactly.
think it would be bigger, wouldn't you? You'd think that depending on how the pandemic and how they approach it and where things are at next year. But if it was really open again, mate, unbelievable! Like that was amazing. But people are just desperate to get out and about and do sporting events, aren't they? Yeah,
Yeah.
almost
Well,
too
look
desperate. It'll get you
Look
in
at,
jail
look
if
at the
you
world
get too desperate.
the World Championships in Flanders just a couple of weeks back. That was the most insane crowds I've ever seen in a world title. And you know what? What's beautiful of this is the middle week is always the hardest one to sell. You know, we're going to have fans who want to come with us for the first week and last week. Hey, Alpe D'Huez is right in the middle, and we'll find out in a minute. I think they're going to climb it twice. So twice in the one day. I've only done it once before. It was sensational. It was
Major
sensational.
contacts. Oh.
Jan says that she's watching the presentation of the ladies tour. That looks like a good route to me.
Ah,
Yep. Yep, I'm trying to get the computer going, but it won't go. So I was going to be all planned. That was going to be running here. I was going to be watching it. There's some link I've missed, but whatever.
All right. What we'll do is have a quick drinks break, and that'll give you time to get your electronics sorted, because without that, John, we're really flying blind, mate.
Well, yeah. Haven't you got another computer there, mate?
All right, we'll work something out. Quick drinks break. We'll be back.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike. 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Life is like a two-way street. It's about consideration and mutual respect. Roads are much the same. However you get around, walk, ride or drive, if we share our roads, we can all be safer. The Amy Gillett Foundation is Australia's peak cycling safety charity. Our mission is for safe cycling in Australia. Our vision is for 0 cyclist deaths. Over the last year, we've seen an enormous increase in people taking up cycling, whether it be for recreation, with the family, commuting, or even to start your own cycling career. We need to do more to make it safer for every cyclist. 20 cyclists every day are hospitalised, and 1 cyclist is killed every 10 days on Australian roads. So, the next time you jump on your bike or hop in your car, remember to practice the 4 C's. Be courteous, calm, considerate, and conscientious. Every cyclist death is preventable, and we all deserve to get home safely. Please donate to help the Amy Gillett Foundation make the roads safer for you and for me.
Thanks again to Bike Exchange and the Amy Gillett Foundation, and beautifully voiced by Phil Liggett. Now, I've got a screen going, John.
You've done better than me.
Of course I have.
Well, I'm watching it on Belgian television as we speak, and they're just running through sequences.
That's right.
Crashes of last year, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and they're going through all the highlights.
I can't
and
put the sound on because you'll all hear it. So.
Well, they had obviously a lot of vision of Mark Cavendish in that package. Is he signed on yet, Scooter, for next year? I think he's still up in the air, isn't he?
No, he signed on.
No, signed on. Yeah.
When did he sign on?
Staying with the Wolfpack.
Okay.
Yep. So there's done some. I don't know what the arrangement was, but they have done some sort of deal. I did notice that the women's race has been announced. So 8 stages, and starting in Paris, and the final stage uphill at Planche de Belleville. So a nasty little kicker at the end. Yeah,
time trial from 2020.
Yeah,
exactly where the Pog won the tour. Yeah.
Yep.
The Pog beat the Rog.
He did. Right. Yeah, Slovenian duel. Yeah, amazing. Oh, that's wonderful. It is absolutely wonderful. I caught up with Donna Ray-Zelinsky earlier today on my little ride around the crit circuit in Geelong, and I just had a chat. That's where she's got her amazing training set up, and she rode the Tour de France women's back a few years ago. She was very excited about the announcement tonight. Oh. So wonderful that they're bringing the mountain stage in. Here there's going to be a time trial as well, so it's going to be a really brilliant event. And I'm planning to be there for that one too. So there you go.
Oh, no. It's going to be a long 3 weeks there, John. 4 weeks in your case.
Well, I haven't told Kay that part. I did break the news. I did break the news this morning about back to the tour. And that's the one good thing the pandemic has done, being locked together for all these months. She was very, very happy for me to go.
So the extra week was more cheers. Yeah.
They've got a so it's average about 130 kilometres per day, except they do have one stage for the women that's 175 k's. So that's a big one for the ladies. They don't typically have them race over those sorts of distances. So that's a cracker. And that's I think that's stage 5. So yeah, that'll hurt the legs before they do go to that final climb. So yeah, it should be fun. It should be good to watch.
Now, they're not doing obviously a team's time trial for next year's edition, Iffy. That was always an event that, geez, from a spectator's point of view, I used to love it, you know. But obviously, remember every time they do a race route, you go, what is the Tour de France objective here? Are they trying to even the field? Are they, you know, they always used to tweak it where they go, okay, well, we've seen the last 3 has been won by Froome and he's a good time trial. Let's tweak that or whatever. What do you think the objectives for next year's one will be?
Well, like you, team time trials, I love them, as long as they're not too long. If you keep them short, sweet, then it's great for everyone. I always feel for sometimes a really good rider who hasn't got a strong enough team around him and they lose too much of the team time trial. But look, it looks a very balanced route for this year. I mean, you've got, you know, some. I think it's an all-rounder type. Look, hey, I know who the favourite is. The Pog. The Pog is definitely the favourite. So it's going to take. But, you know, the way the ROG is going, I think it'll be a great duel between the two of them. It's going to be a brilliant bike race.
Phil, there was criticisms, I think it was a couple of years ago, when they had sections that had gravel. And, you know, a lot of the riders were going, well, why do we have to do this? Why do we have to take those risks? And obviously they're going to be riding towards Roubaix next year. So there will be cobble sections. Do you think that there needs to be that balance where you've got to have some stages that from a spectacle point of view, it's unbelievable?
Well, so the organisers over this last decade have just looked for ways to make things be more sensational. The Vuelta a España started using these ridiculously steep climbs like La Anglerou, which are 25, 26%, and the guys were just about getting the pedals over at the top, using gearing we never contemplated for a pro cyclist of 28 rears. Now they're commonplace. In fact, the bikes they ride, they even start the time trials with 28 plates on the back because it makes no difference. They only use the front 3 sprockets. So it's not gears for courses anymore. You get the whole set for the whole 3 weeks of racing. Gravel racing is going to become more and more commonplace, I think. Strade Bianca started that. The Tour, when they ran it with Froome, I remember it was stage 5. It was a Wednesday. Froome fell off 3 times. In the end, did his wrist and he retired from the race 5 days in, and he was the defending champion.
He didn't hit the cobbles that day. He never got to the cobbles that day. Remember that? He fell off before the cobbles.
He did fall on the cobbles, but he also fell off the
cobbles. He fell before them. He fell before the cobbles.
Oh, rubbish.
He did. He did. Look it
up.
Stage
5 Wednesday, he fell on the cobbles. I was there watching him bow over his bike and hold his wrist. And he said, this is enough for me.
I'll back you up, John.
The fact
Sorry,
is
Phil. He didn't actually, for me, crash before the cobble section. Yeah.
Was it stage 5?
Yep.
Well, for a fair balance argument, I'm with Phil. He didn't.
Good for you. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. The fact is the challenges are there. And, okay, Chris isn't the best bike handler in the world. He got better, especially descending. But I think they're always looking for reasons to make the race attractive. And
I think he felt because of the panic before they got the cobbles, was all this panic going on. Yeah. But, you know, it's interesting what they're saying with I was watching the Paris Tours last week, which went on just after we went to air. But it's become a fantastic race because the last part of the race, they go on these dirt tracks through the vineyards. It used to be just a sprinters classic. Now they've made it interesting. It was an absolutely brilliant bike race.
The problem with the
great field either this year, I must say.
the problem with the presentation is they're just waiting for that 3-minute video, aren't they? You know, where they do the flyby and they show all the race routes and whatever. But you've got to go through, 45 minutes of videos.
I can tell you that Belgian
speeches.
television are scheduling this to finish in another hour's time. So I suspect
I think we're cooked.
it might be a while before we start covering the actual.
I think we're going to have to go off.
We'll go with our route because I reckon it's spot on. I reckon it's spot on. Yeah.
Well, what are going to be the key parts of your proposed Tour de France route?
If behind me, if we're looking at that one, you get that's stage 4 up the back here. People can't see that. But the one
paint a bit more detail for the audio listeners.
That's around Calais region, is it, John?
Yes, Calais. I've got the. I've been that busy looking for the other website. I've lost my.
Mr. Prudhomme is now speaking. I can't hear what he's saying.
There we go. Yeah, but stage 5 is the one from Lille to Arenberg. And so it's virtually reverse of.
I bet it's a Wednesday as well. I bet your Chris Froome falls off on that stretch.
Yeah, so Tuesday, Wednesday, and it finishes in Arenberg, little town, which is right at the start of the Arenberg Forest. So I'll be going the reverse direction of Arenberg Forest, which is probably the most crucial bit of cobbles of the Paris-Roubaix. So that looks like it'll be just before the finish. So it'll be an amazing stage. That's the first one that sticks out.
Imagine if they had the finish line at the end of the Arenberg Forest. Sprint.
Well, it's close. It's not far. It'll only be 3 or 4K.
One drive to the hotels. By the way, Christian Prudhomme is now explaining the history of the Tour from where it all began on foreign soil. It was 1954 in Amsterdam, and as I said earlier, when we weren't on there, it's the 24th time we'll start on foreign soil, and now he's working his way across Denmark, just so you know where we are.
And then he's also said that he's got wind that John is going to be back at the Tour and security measures.
Yes, he's actually announcing extra security, apparently.
I've got photos of him presenting me with my 20-year memorial, or whatever, not memorial, I'm not dead, but presentation.
That's Chris Peters' comment. He goes, Dan, this is like watching an episode of The Young Ones, except you're all not that young.
Well, you're the youngest, Dan.
We'll start talking like this.
I just sent you that message to check out Chris's comment because that was hilarious. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, perfect. What you got for us next, John?
Okay, so after Arenberg, we've got Binche to Longwy. So Binche, which is just in Belgium, just over the border, to Longwy, which is right on the other side of the border. So
what did you just call me?
Binche.
Oh, right, sorry. Yeah.
And
it's actually the home of a famous local classic there.
And then we've got the first really tough day. It's Tomblain to La Planche de Belleville. So La Planche de Belleville, which is a fantastic climb, and that's where the women also have a stage up there. So that will be a wonderful stage.
Oh, the King of Denmark's talking now, Phil.
I didn't know who it was, but because I've got no sound on. But is it the King of Denmark?
No, he's married to the Aussie.
Yes, he is, but it used to be King Fred. King Fred. We still had a toast to King Fred at the Van Sank every year because he and Pato became good mates back in 1950 or 51 when Pato won the world sprint title. So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah. And he said to the king, "How's your missus?"
How's the missus? Yeah.
Didn't follow protocol. All right, if he keeps soldiering on.
So then we've got Dole to Lausanne. So we go into into Switzerland, beautiful around the lake, and then Aigle, Aigle, which is the home of the UCI, just on the other side of the beautiful Lake Lausanne. Across just onto the border to Châtel, which it's got to be a mountain stage because that's right up near Moisine, up in the hills. Then we have another rest day Even my predictor can't tell me what happens the next day, so they've given up on that. Then on the 13th, there's Albeville to Col de Granon, so we're up into the big mountains again, into the Alps. And then on the 14th, Briançon to Alpe D'Huez. So I'm looking forward to that. It is going to be sensational, and it predicts two kilometres of Alpe D'Huez, which I've only ever done once before. I know the riders complained that year because the descent that they went down was a little bit dangerous, but I guess they've fixed the roads or whatever. But let's hope that happens, because that was an amazing day. Amazing day.
All right. And then what have we got the last week?
Then we've got, we've got Bourg de Sam, which is the wonderful little town at the bottom of Alpe D'Huez, to Saint-Etienne, major industrial city, the home of the Vitus alloy frames. Then Saint-Etienne to Mende. How do you say it, Scotty? You said Monde, yeah.
That's the end of
and then Rodez to one of our favourite little towns, Carcassonne.
Yeah, I think we need a bit of flavour to this preview, John, because you're just reading out names, and I've done the tour 12 times. I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, because I'm just working on it. So we get to Carcassonne, which is the wonderful ancient world city, and we've got a rest day there. So we remember we had a couple of great nights in the old medieval city of Carcassonne, which is absolutely staggering.
I'm surprised the walls are still standing.
You should have used this as an opportunity to really paint a cultural picture and then added in all this flavour so that you could have double dipped your chip. You're doing a race preview, but you're also saying, come over to the Detour Tours because we're going to experience this.
Well, I was going to do that at the end of the show, but if you want me to,
when we know the route is official, of course.
Yeah, that's right. The best would if he's mentioned all these towns and none of them come up.
So, I could do all that, but we're 46 minutes in now, and we've still got a week of the tour to go. So,
all right, fly through it.
So, rest day in Carcassonne, amazing. So we'll have an absolute ball there, and then Carcassonne to Foix. So we're riding getting into the base of the Pyrenees.
Yep.
And then Foix to the ski city of Périgueux or Périgueux. That's it. Yep. Very good, Phil.
Nice place. Very good.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And a specialty of the region, Phil? Best media buffet ever?
Because when we do TV, we never see these fantastic media buffets anymore. And what I miss most about the ambience of the tour, to be honest, because we work a day ahead and we're in position when the race comes in, and we leave as soon as it finishes. So we miss all the free bottle of wine you get as well, John.
It's become so professional now, hasn't it? Back in the 70s and 80s, it was.
If I had a choice, I wouldn't go.
Animal House.
Oops. It's the wife. I'll be back in a second.
All right, mate. Go,
we'll cut you out. So then we start in one of my favourite little towns in Paris, Lourdes.
Oh, no. Tell people about Lourdes.
Well, the wheelchair capital of the world.
That's where they go for the miracles.
Well, there was a miracle there 200 years ago, and they keep going back. We're hoping for the second one. But anyway.
Scooter, do you remember when we stayed in Lourdes?
I do. And look, to be clear to everybody, there's a bit of sarcasm about his favourite town in France, and I feel the same. I feel really saddened by what goes on there. It's a town full of people that are just trying to take advantage of people that are going through really terrible times. They go to Lourdes to try and get cured of something to, get themselves better again. And there are so many terrible people there that just prey on those vulnerable people. And I found it really offensive, actually. I don't like going there at all.
No.
So they have all these little stores selling all of the,
trinkets.
Yeah. Trinkets and things. It's like where Hollywood meets the Vatican. Las Vegas meets the Vatican.
Mixed with a splash of Freddy Krueger. It feels like a horror show.
All of that. Yeah. So Lourdes, but it's a beautiful area of France. I mean, it's green and right at the base of the Pyrenees, absolutely glorious. And up to Hautacam, which is one of the famous climbs of the tour. So that'll be a monster stage.
Yep.
So that's on the 18th. Yep. So then on the 19th, we get just out the back of Toulouse, we've got from Castelnau-Magnoic, I don't know if you have that, to Cahors. So that's, if we look at our little map.
It's very hot down there. I mean, really hot.
It's beautiful area.
It's just polished podcasting here, isn't it? We just got a wide shot of Iffy pointing at a map going, hang on, where are we? And he starts sort of in the middle right of France, and then he works his way down, and then he finally finds what he's talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, it's going to be an amazing day. And then we've got the time trial, which is just out sort of east of Bordeaux from La Chapelle, Marival to Racador. So that is right there.
Yeah.
For all those listening on the podcast, yes, we're about a couple of 100 kilometres.
And where do the famous musicians live, John? Remember, you always stay at the musician's house on the way to Paris.
Yeah. The
Musos. Where's their house?
They're right up about there.
All right. So you pencil that into the north.
150k out of Paris. We'll be staying there, and that will be sensational dancing. And I was talking to one of my mates who was with me the last time we went there, and he remembered it's sensational. You know, he's a chef, and the whole family of musicians, and it's a little vineyard. It's just a wonderful spot, and. Then they play all this rock and roll music, and I grab one of the local ladies up, and I'm rock and rolling with her. And as I've spun her around, I've sort of missed her hand, and she did a cartwheel over the table. She didn't get up for a second dance, I can tell you that. But anyway, it was very funny. You had to be there.
Johnny, can I say? I remember when I went and stayed with you there. Remember. Because it is out of the way, isn't it? You sort of go down through this. Yeah. It really was difficult to find, and we're thinking, "Oh, here we go. Where are we going this time?" And it's not one of your normal 5-star kind of places that big luxury looking joint. But gee, it was great. They are beautiful, beautiful people, great family, and just that very relaxed rural setting in the middle of nowhere.
Great swimming pool. A little par 3 golf course, 4 holes or something that I think got mowed a couple of years ago once, but sensational, absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Will Wizard says next we have a review of the actual Tour de France course after the official announcement, and the same for the 2022 Giro in January.
Yes. Yeah. You're right. You're definitely right, Will Wizard. We actually moved the start time to this show to coincide with the release of the course. I thought it was just a release of the course. Obviously, that's going to take another hour. So
we started now. We're just tracing the time trial route around Denmark, but that's going to be a long trip to Paris.
And Chris is on fire. Chris Pearson says the muffled sounds of Iffy are for those listening. The back of Iffy's head is for those watching.
Hey, I think Phil will probably propose this review to NBC to use for their broadcasting throughout the USA. Get Iffy on board, and they would
I'm
love
looking
this.
forward to doing that. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
for sure.
Tomo has stepped down from SBS. I could jump in and take over the role.
Yeah,
Someone has to. Someone has to, John.
Yes, indeed.
You changed your opening music to that theme from Dad's Army.
Well, super big shoes to fill for somebody there. But anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What do you think, Scooter, are going to be the keys to taking down the Pog next year? Or do you literally, if you're preparing, just go, let's just aim for a podium?
Oh, you've got to give it a go. Look at Bernal a couple of years ago. Everyone thought, well, that's it. He's going to win now for the next 4, 5, 6 years straight. But the Pog came along. So I guess the challenge starts obviously in Denmark, but Denmark is typically flat. There could be a lot of wind. So like every tour, you've got to get through those first few days, and it'll be lots of crashes, lots of carnage. And I would imagine that there'll be a fair amount of crosswind. So he has to make sure that his team is strong enough to put him in that first split, if it does happen in the echelons, in the crosswinds. Then you've got the cobbles to get through. If they're going to finish in Arenberg, you would actually think that that last section of cobbles in the other direction through to the finish in Arenberg, maybe come off the cobbles and finish, only a couple of Ks to go or something like that. That would be very spectacular. A lot of carnage on that day as well. You have to survive that. And once they get into the mountains, I don't think there's anyone that can match him. But, with Alpe D'Huez twice, with the Hautacam, they'll go that stage from Lourdes to Hautacam will probably go over the Tourmalet as well. But I think the only way to beat Pog will be perhaps in that first week and whether he loses too much time. I think that's probably his biggest danger.
Phil, do you think?
I'm just looking at the route. He's tracing the route at the moment. It's pretty much as you said, John. You can include Morzine on that section of the Alps. He does go to the top of Alpe d'Huez and then seems to go to the bottom of the Bourg d'Oisans, and it starts his journey out of town. So I'm not sure it goes up it twice, but it's only a tracing we're looking at the moment. I'm now racing across towards the west of France.
John did say that the day after Alpe d'Huez, Phil starts down the bottom as well in Bourg d'Oisans. So that might be just the next stage starting.
It is indeed the next stage. And we're on to Foix now, Périgueux, which is pretty hilly around there, over to Lourdes. It looks like you've got the exact route there, John. How did you do this?
See, everybody. Yeah,
it's gone across to Lourdes. From Lourdes, we're heading over the mountains again to Hautacam, as you said.
Hautacam,
Castle now, restart.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, this is running 100 miles an hour through Cahors, onto La Chapelle, over to Rocamadour. I couldn't see that
That's the
properly.
time trial,
Nicely.
Yeah.
I'm going to Paris as well.
Yeah, finishes in Paris.
Finishes in Paris. Yeah.
Wow.
How about that?
That's the whole route. They've done it. They took 1/3 of the time it took to show us the review of last year's tour with the tracing of the new.
So they've done. So we're pretty spot on, guys. Hey,
Well, the Wheel Wizard called it too early. He said a good show would be how wrong John was with his predictions. Well, sorry, mate. We're going to have to say well done.
Once, the only time I've known the Wheel Wizard to be wrong.
Yeah.
He's cracked at the end of the season.
Gotcha, Wheel Wizard.
I've got a question for you, Scooter, from David. He says, do you think Michael Storer could be a GC guy? I love the ways he won stages at the La Vuelta this year.
Look, I think he could be, maybe somewhere in the smaller tours, Paris-Nice, things like that. You'd have to prove himself there. He was great in the Vuelta, but he didn't have to, it's very, very different to be at the front of these massive races, the Grand Tour races for the overall classification. So much more pressure. You don't get any days in between to sort of back off a little bit. You have to be at the top of your game every single day. And I would hope that he can, but I guess he just has to show that he can do more than, what he did in the Vuelta, which was great, 2 stages. But he just needs to back that up with, a multi-day race and be up there in the top 10 in a Paris-Nice or a Trino Adriatico, something like that. And if you can do that, that's when you start to think, maybe he has the potential to go deeper into, a Grand Tour. Look, Dan, you remember this. We remember when Michael Rogers was going from time trial into trying to be a GC contender, and he was good in the 1 week tours and then really focused on the Tour de France and just couldn't do it. And I remember he told us together, he said that he realised after a couple of years of going for the Grand Tours that he just can't get past sort of 10 days of racing and stay on form. And that's when he realised that he would never be a Grand Tour contender. He would stick to the time trials and the shorter tours and for stages. And then his last couple of seasons had some great stage wins in the Giro and the Tour. But just knew that he couldn't go more than 2 weeks into a race and hold on for that 3rd week. So it'll be a big test for Michael Storer if he can prove that, and I certainly hope he can.
Now, it is going to be a big test for Bike Exchange. Been starved of success at the Tour de France for a couple of years now, and with the current situation, wanting to get a sponsor or a partner to come on, do they have to be really smart with the tour with someone like Yates and literally hide out for the first 10 days and then target couple of these bigger stages in the last week, knowing that the GC guys it's going to be pretty chaotic. You know, as Scooter said, there's going to be crashes, stuff's going to happen, and just be as fresh as you can be for that sort of last 7 or 8 days.
Interesting, you know, they're two big names, of course, Simon Yates and Bling, Michael Matthews. I think I do believe that Simon Yates still has a Grand Tour win in him, but I don't think it'll be the Tour de France. So that's what they're going to have to make a decision on. I know it's still, you know, sucks in his craw, the Giro. He went in there this year to do that. Didn't quite have the form. Still managed to run third. So. And he's won the Vuelta. I think the Giro will be something he targets and really goes all out for, and he's capable. As far as Michael is concerned, I think Michael's big focus this next year will be the World Championships in Australia, in Wollongong. It is a tough course. It's a tough course. It's a Michael Matthews course. I think they've made it too hard for Caleb, even though it's virtually in his hometown. He comes from that area, and I thought they would have designed a course that would have suited him, but they haven't. It's one of the toughest world title courses in a lot of years, even tougher than this year. It is Alaphilippe course, of course. So, of course, he could be going for 3, doing a Sagan. But, it's very much so. So I think it'll be that. And I believe he should go target stage wins at the Grand Tours. He's capable of winning stages in every one of the Grand Tours. You've got to go there with that in mind. And I believe he can have a great year. And, of course, he'll be going for the early season classics, the ones that suit him, like Liège and Hedvolk, etc. So I think that's be that focus, and let's see who they're signing up in the young brigade to see who's going to come up through the ranks.
Yep. What do you reckon, Scooter?
Yeah, look, Lucas Hamilton had interrupted tour for him crashing out, so they were hoping he was going to have a crack for the top 10. And then, look what Ben O'Connor was able then to do. And then Jack Haig, did the same situation in the Vuelta. So, maybe it's Lucas Hamilton's time to step up and show that he can be an overall contender. I'm just not sure. I'm not convinced that Yatesy is the man, for the Tour de France. I think the peloton has moved on a bit beyond him.
Righto, well, we've gone over an hour, and that's not including the 10 minutes we had to write off at the start. Anything you want to wrap before we finish things up, Johnny?
Well, I think what we will, when we do our next podcast, which I think is going to be Sunday, where we're talking with some of the experts wrapping up Australian cycling's year, and we will probably compare our course with the actual course, which looks like we're pretty close. And we'll talk a bit more about the women's Tour de France, which I am actually very excited about. I think it'll be an amazing event.
We'll have a chat with Amanda Spratt as well.
Yeah, now we're actually talking to Spratty tomorrow, which we won't go live with because she's about to go in and have an operation on her iliac vein, artery, which caused problems for a lot of bike riders over time. Annemiek van Vleuten was done. Stewie O'Grady, I remember Stewie had exactly the same thing. And Stewie was telling me the difference after he had that operation was amazing. He didn't realise how much he'd been restricted by it for quite a few years. So, and everyone I've read about that's had that operation has gone ahead in leaps and bounds afterwards. So,
And basically it's caused from like when you're leaning over so much on the bike, it can restrict the artery after a while, yeah? And then once you can release that, then you get obviously a lot more freedom.
Yeah.
That's exactly Dr. Dan Jones' analysis there.
It was half a question, though, wasn't it? It wasn't this list statement half question.
There wasn't much confidence, but I thought I was roundabout. Yeah. All right. Anything you want to add, Phil, before we go?
Oh, you've heard Phil.
No,
yep.
I've just got the full rundown from the organisers who I've been chatting on the Tour Women. And you're right, it does finish on the La Planche de Belleville, but it's a road race of 123 kilometres, finishing at the top. Most of the towns are little-known towns in France, but it's good. It's good for the towns to see the route go there now. It'll be an exciting race. 82 kilometres on the Champs-Élysées before the Tour finishes. So that's going to give us a double day on the Champs-Élysées. That'll be pretty exciting for all those that sign up for the Detour trip. They'll love to get two races for the price of one now.
Exactly.
Doubles the price.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You will be charged accordingly.
But I must say, John, I think you plotted the route almost to perfection there.
You did.
There you go.
Well done, John.
So that was a great effort. Yeah.
Yeah. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Really appreciate it. YouTube.com/The Detour Podcast. Let everyone know. We'll be back again on Sunday night, Iffy. So make sure you follow all our socials. And then we'll give you a notification.
Big shout out to Alan Piper, who received a wonderful award just last week. I don't think we talked about that.
That was last year. It was a repost on Facebook where he won the Director Sportif of the Year. Did he win it again this year?
Well, he just wrote. I saw just a post saying, "Congratulations, Alan Piper, on winning that award."
Yeah, and was it a photo where he's standing at the White Stairs holding a plaque?
Could have been.
Yeah, well, that was from the year before, John. So you've done such a good job with your research on this show.
Again, so he might be repeated. You never know.
He may well have.
I'll have to Google this.
I'll drop him a line and congratulate him.
Yeah, two-time winner, back-to-back. Never been done before by a non-European. Well done, Alan.
Yeah,
all right.
Absolutely. Yeah,
it might have been 12. It might have been 12 months to the day that he'd won it, and maybe that's what it was. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to the Young Ones edition of the Detour podcast. We tried our best. We had a lot of fun, and we'll be back again on Sunday. Thanks, Scooter. Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Ivy. See you again soon.
Yeah. All the best, guys.